Randy? Thumbs up, Cheryl? Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Can you hear us?
Yep, loud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, calling to order, we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we're meeting today.
Our camera's not on.
Is our camera failing? Somebody's...
That was Leah.
No, oh, okay. Muted, we're good now.
Oh, you can not. Yeah.
Okay, in that, is it there? Thanks, Ray. Okay, so Christine was good enough to put on the agenda that we actually do a recommendation right off the top for freedom of the floor. I'm not sure where we're going to land it before or after the lands acknowledgement, but I would take a recommendation for freedom of the floor. So far, we have Director Main, moved Watson and Popoff. Do we have any other visitors today online? I thought Keith was going to join us, but not. So freedom of the floor moved and seconded for Director Main. All in favor? Any opposed? So that's carried. Welcome, Leah. Always we look for your rural lens on these during these meetings.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes,
Director Newell here.
Oh, sorry, Director Newell.
Sorry, it's a point of privilege and or question, or we just got an email canceling joint resource, and I wonder if we could get some clarification on that before while we're all here.
Board Chair Watson says that's an error. And
Thank
it's
you.
from July 2024.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay,
So-
I haven't seen that either. That's good to know. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
So looking for a recommendation to adopt the agenda as circulated. Watson, second, Popoff. Discussion. I don't think there's anything to add. Staff had nothing to add or pull. So hearing nothing, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. We received the minutes and they of course went to the board in January, not aware of any issues with that. So I believe we're going to have two delegations this morning, although one of them is not here yet. We, under item 7.3, we're looking to have Rodney Kosienczyk and Hillary Cole not here. We do have another delegation, Albert Benson, for 7.4.
Yeah.
Okay, they're here for the delegation and staff will just brief them on what will happen. Okay, so we will then move on to the planning and building, 7.1, cancellation building bylaw contravention. McPherson, staff recommendation that we, corporate officer, be authorized to remove the notice on title relating to 3306 Crestova. I don't know if we need a staff update. It's very straightforward. Do we have a recommendation? Cunningham, seconded Popoff. Discussion. Seeing none, nobody in chat, all in favor. So that's pretty straightforward. That'll go to board tomorrow. Thank you. The next one is a development variance permit Pritchard. So this has, the applicant has withdrawn their application. And yeah, maybe we'll just get a little clarity from staff exactly what that means, that it is not coming back.
That is,
what is yours?
Yeah, so these folks chose to withdraw their application. They're instead going to do their subdivision in compliance with the existing bylaw. So it's been canceled and won't be coming back.
Yeah, it's good. So we can quit referring this from meeting to meeting to meeting. It's gone. Now, the one question I had at agenda prep is, do we do a no further action or just leave it the way it is?
For the chair, assume it's
Yeah, so it's been canceled, so there's no way for it to come back.
Yeah, so we just move on. Okay. Item 7.3 is the development variance permit. And Cole. We'll get a brief update of where we're at from Zach. I didn't have an opportunity to say hi earlier, but in a minute I'll invite you to come up if you want to speak to your recommendation, add any new information, and if you're willing, answer questions from the committee. But Zach, first we'll get your Cole's notes, and then we'll go to the delegation.
Sure. Through the chair, development variance permit to permit an oversized accessory structure. So it's above the 6 meter maximum height. And also more than the 100 meter square gross floor area. That floor area is mostly just because of the design of the structure. So the footprint is actually 86 meters square, I believe. But based on the fact that it's built into a slope and there is a full height basement, that increases or doubles the gross floor area that they're proposing. So right now the staff recommendation is that we back in the board support or approve the requested variances. The only real concern or question that came up was just related to ensuring that there's a suitable area for a replacement septic field. So the property owner applicants engaged a registered on-site wastewater practitioner to determine a suitable location for a backup field in the event that the original field needs to be replaced. And there was no issues that came back from that report. They identified a suitable area and said there's plenty of room on the property for that secondary septic field.
Great, thanks very much, Zach. So if you wanted to join the committee on a couple of chairs at the end here, right here, sure. You have to be near enough. We're speaking to these two little electronic devices. So if you're this close, it'll pick you up quite well. So we've read your application. We have, of course, staff's recommendation. Is there anything you wanted to add, elaborate upon that you would not have already seen and or answer questions? But the floor is yours.
Okay, yeah, well, I've made up some bullet points here, but it's just gonna go over what Zach has just stated. We've tried to meet all the requirements needed with staff help and extremely helpful and kind to us. And we'd really like to express our thanks to everybody involved. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. We're forced to build it over square footage due to the lay of the land, higher above or below sunshine basement. The lot's been dug out to accommodate the sunshine basement, which means to make it fit on the property, we need the 2 levels. So otherwise we wouldn't be here. So that's where we're at.
Okay, and so any questions from the committee of the delegation?
Davidoff's unmuted.
Director Davidoff, you're unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I'm waiting for when it gets back to the committee.
Okay.
I'll mute. Sorry, Chair.
No, fair enough. Just looking again. All I can say is it's always cost effective to take advantage of the lay of the land and build up instead of spreading the footprint. So
Right.
it makes complete sense. Director Kearney and then Weatherhead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is how clever that is to show us the plan, and good job.
My idea, his handiwork.
So members online, we have a flip down two level depiction of the structure here. Is what Director Kearney is referring to. Director Weatherhead.
I was just going to comment on the same thing.
On this end. Okay.
Really, very creative. I love it.
So thanks very much for being here. If you wouldn't mind returning to the gallery, we'll get on with the business item. And this is an electoral area I. Director Davidoff, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. So before I move any motion, I just have a process question to staff through the chair.
Okay.
I read the report and there were referrals, but there was not an APHC meeting called to address this. Is that the process that we're following? Because we're relying on staff to call APHC meetings now for anything that the APHC should see. I'm not doing those anymore because I'm relying on staff. There's no Area I APHC comment in the report. I do not believe we addressed this at any APHC meeting. So I'm just wondering, are these automatic referrals to APHCs for APHCs to address?
So see, we have Sangeeta and Nelson online, plus of course Zach in the room. Who wants to take this sort of?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Zach.
I can start it off. So I believe this was a bit of a scheduling issue, and it may have just been how APHC staff on the RECK staff end of things those responsibilities have been changing a little bit. So I apologize if that was an oversight on my part, or if there was just some miscommunication there. Generally, Director Davidoff, you're right, DVPs are forwarded to APHCs. In this case, it's beyond me right now in terms of why this was missed and not forwarded to the APHC. Yeah, they would have been included in the original referral, but then the scheduling, I guess, somehow got missed. So I don't have an explanation exactly why right now, but I could also confirm with you afterwards and just look back at the emails that were sent.
Thanks, Zach. I'm just trying to recall, because some things are mandated to go to APHCs and other things we just do because it is desirable. Chair Watson, you had thoughts on this? I see your hand.
Well, I just wanted to clarify because my understanding, and maybe this is the difference between a DVP and a DP, but DPs do not even go to electoral area directors, let alone the APHC. So is it that DVP's development variance permits do go to the directors and the APHC, but development permits do not? Because I have a different understanding than what you just described, and I just wanted to make sure I got it right.
Right, so yeah, through the chair, DVPs generally do go to APHCs and the director, whereas DPs, development permits, unless the director has specified that staff send it to them, we generally don't send watercourse development permits or ESDPs to APHCs for the director.
Okay, thanks. So we'll look back, Director Davidoff.
Yeah.
How do you want to proceed?
Okay, so I just want to share with the committee that before this new scheduling, I would look after scheduling all meetings. I would contact the APHC chair, invite the applicants to come. All of that was done through myself and our APHC chair. With the change in process, we have something like this coming here, and it's a worthy application. I'm not speaking to the application itself. I'm speaking to the process, that if we have a process where staff is scheduling and all of these things happen, I'm really relying on staff to do all of that. And here, this one fell through the cracks. So we can follow up on this after the meeting offline. I will move the recommendation that staff has made.
Okay, hold on. Looking for a second for the staff recommendation on the agenda. Tierney seconded. Go ahead, Director Davidoff.
Yeah, and I think the comments already made before we got into the business part of the meeting. It's really creative. I looked at the report. You know, that was referred to 17 residences, and there were no comments, no feedback. There's nothing blocking this. It was really well done, and I guess we can give credit to the person who came up with the idea, but I'm not going to go any further than that. I move the recommendation and support it, and basically request that the Rural Affairs Committee supports it as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Director. Further discussion on the recommendation. Vandenberg, go
Just want to
ahead.
be absolutely, thank you to the chair, absolutely clear what the recommendation, which one we are.
So on the agenda, the board approved issuance and development permit B24191 to Rodney Koziansik. You'll correct me on that later, please. And Hillary Cole for property at 1918 Road area I, and then it is to vary, and then as Zach indicated, building height varies to 6.2 meters, and as per section 7018, permitted maximum gross foot area of 171 square meters per the what's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you for that clarity.
Okay.
Further question.
Go ahead.
A little bit of latitude is pretty precise. 6.2 is pretty precise. What if it's 6.25? What if it's 6.225? Same thing with the building overall. From one person to another, 171 cubic square meters could be 171.5, 172. Then if that's the case, depending on whomever is deciding what the final values are, is there any latitude?
So through the chair, when it came to the height, I rounded up to give them a little bit of wiggle room. I think it came out to 6.1 room or something like that. This was a difficult one for building height because of the slope and how our definition refers to average finished grade around the outside of the building. And then with regards to the actual size, we went with what was shown on their site plan, and GFA has always measured to the external face of the foundation walls or just the external walls of the building. So again, it was a round up to give them a little bit of wiggle room, but I don't anticipate that changing based on how specific the building plans were that they provided.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Anybody in the chat? Seeing none, all in favor of the recommendation? Anybody opposed? So that is carried to committee and we'll go to the board tomorrow for the board approval, which is the full 20 of us. Thank you for coming. You can stay as long as you like. It's always exciting. Thank you again. So next, 7.4, we have development variance permit Benson Oil. We do have a delegation present here as well, Albert Benson, who I'll invite up in a minute. Zach, do you want to give us again the Coles notes or opening on this, please?
Sure. So this is another development variance permit to facilitate the development of a card block style fueling station on Old Mill Road, just outside of Castlegar. So the applicant is requesting, and this was narrowed down through a detailed zoning review that I completed, for a reduction of parking spaces, a reduction of the area to be surfaced with concrete or asphalt, like impermeable surfacing, and a reduction of the landscape area along the front property line. The site it's a 1 hectare property zoned light industrial. There would be a subsequent industrial commercial development permit to further kind of hone down the final design of the site and ensure all the landscaping requirements are adhered to. And then further to that, there was one comment that Interior Health came back with in terms of potential concerns about the groundwater in the area, the different aquifers that underlie the site. The way that we're going to address that is through the development permit. There's actually a very specific DP guideline in the current area IOCP that requires or gives staff the authority to require a professional engineer's report to assess any type of impact to groundwater resources. So based on the fact that there is that very specific DP guideline, we feel comfortable with continuing to work with the applicant and their consultants in addressing any potential concerns to groundwater resources. And given that this development variance permit is more related to parking, landscaping, and surfacing, we don't feel that that's super specific to the actual groundwater comments that were provided by IH. So we'll continue to work with the applicant and their consultant on that note. So yeah, this development variance permit is meant as like a precursor to the DP, just to go over those specific variances to the requirements.
Great, thank you, Zach. So Mr. Benson, if you wanted to join us at the table, as noted earlier, if you have anything you want to add that you may not be aware of in the application, or if you're just here to answer questions, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here. I don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions that I can.
Okay, so to the committee then, any questions? I did note earlier, that we had one quite similar to this not too long ago, same kind of facility. Director Vandenberg, go ahead.
Just to the applicant, there's a few of the subject twos in here that talk about road conditioning, that sort of thing. Are you comfortable with the subject twos that we have in our report today?
Road condition.
Yeah.
Gravel surface.
Calcium chloride on
yes.
gravel.
Yes.
Some landscaping suggestions. I just want to make sure that you're good with it.
Yes, dust control, we had talked about, and, even the landscaper, we sort of touched on planting trees, consistent with the recent development next door, to try to make it a more uniform looking area, rather than doing our own thing, sort of, blending the look.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions from the committee, and I keep changing screens. Director Hanegraaff, go ahead, please.
You but off on the chat.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm not there in person. I just wanted to follow up on what Kelly was saying. One of the reasons I am in support of this is because of the dust mitigation subject twos that have been put in the recommendation. Mr. Benson, I need to say that I think part of being a good neighbor is mitigating the dust. In the past, we have had some, I don't know how to characterize it, maybe blowback from the neighbors around dust, not at your facility, but at other facilities in the area. So I just want to emphasize to you that the dust mitigation is critical to your facility being successful in the area. I just really want to emphasize that.
Thanks, Director. And I'm going to comment, you're sounding a little better today than you sounded yesterday when you joined CSOC remotely, and have lots of hot tea. Hopefully you'll be better yet for board, and maybe we'll see you in person.
I am not well.
Okay. Please wish you a speedy recovery. We have Director Davidoff next, please. Go ahead, and then Cunningham.
Yeah, Chair, I put my name in chat to speak when we get into the business part of this, please.
Okay, we'll go to Director Cunningham. Question for the delegate.
I understand there's going to be a guard lab operation. How many pumps?
There will be, two, pump dispenser, exactly, but mounted directly to the tanks, so there's no, yeah, so, 4 products, 5 bucks.
Okay. Further questions?
I'm sorry, but what was just said there, I couldn't make any sense out of it.
Oh, the question was around the card lock number of pumps and configuration, I guess, and the response was that there are 5 dispensers for 4 products, correct, mounted to the tanks.
Yes.
So I guess that avoids the underground pumping and leakage containment issues, does it?
Yeah, there'll be no, nothing underground. Basically, only would be the catchment for the water and the water separator. All the outlet electrical lines would have to run underground, but any plumbing is sort of made that way that we're not running underground lines anywhere. It's all pumps, meters, dispensers mounted right to the tank and all above ground.
Thank you. Director Hanegraaff, I think that covers pretty much what was discussed. My past life, I did tank yanks for underground tanks and piping, and this is the only way to go now. Don't bury stuff that you know will fail. Further questions from the delegation? Nobody else in chat, so thanks very much. Mr. Benson, if you wanted to step back, we'll get to the business item. So we have board recommendation to approve for the development variance permit as written in the adopted agenda, and then with the specific purposes identified and subject to clauses. Do we have a mover for the recommendation?
I'll move the recommendation. Please tell me I don't have to read the whole thing.
No, it is exactly as written in the agenda package for the public interest. Do we have a second? Director Weatherhead, discussion.
Yeah, Chair, I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes, of course. Director Davidoff, you're on the list. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I read the report and I did not see any comments from the APHC. I'm just wondering if that was Am I missing something through the chair to staff?
That,
Through the chair, in this case, this was sent to the APHC coordinator, but the Area J committee was unable to achieve quorum to meet that. And I think maybe Director Hanegraaff has some additional comments, but
yes.
they weren't able to meet to discuss this one based on the timelines that I was working with.
Thank you, Director Hanegraaff. I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Unfortunately, the Area J APHC has been plagued with some illness, and we have some shift workers, and between those two things, it's been really difficult for them to meet. The group is very committed, but circumstances have prevented them from meeting. And so rather than hold things up, we've gone ahead. Hopefully, everyone's health will be restored soon, and they can continue with the good work that they do.
Yep. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Henny, for the explanation. I hope you're feeling better soon.
Further discussion, sorry, Director Cunningham, I can't read that. Do we have a technical failure there? We have one screen, that's, I guess, what Stuart was pointing out to Christine. We'll just pause for a minute, see if we get this other screen rebooted, so everybody in the room can see what we have now that it's both.
Hey, Gary, will that happen? Pass them on.
No, I'm still got it. I fool people. I walk around with a coffee cup all day. It's not always coffee. Sometimes it's water.
As long as you keep your caffeine level up.
It is. Starting at 4 a.m. your time this morning. We have one screen just waiting for the other to move.
It's on over there, it's just small.
Well, yeah, it needs to be stretched in, I guess.
Yeah, press stop and then. Should pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this one now.
Yeah.
And there we go. We're ready to rock once again. Everybody can see who's online and whatever else. Okay, so is our video? Thanks, very well. So further discussion. I don't see anyone in chat. Don't see any hands. Sorry, was that virtual? No. Okay, seeing none. All in favor of the recommendation? Any opposed? Seeing none opposed, that is carried. That will go to the board tomorrow, as had stated, Mr. Benson. Thank you again for coming in this morning. Thanks, Zach. On to 7.5, development variance permit. Serge and Pierce. This is area K. We have Sadie here. We don't have a delegation at all for this. Christine, there was no indication they're going to join us. Okay. There's a staff recommendation to approve a EVP. Go ahead, please give us a Cole's notes.
Sweet. Just before I do that, I do see that Paul Sturvey is online. I don't think he was planning to speak, but he is here, maybe to answer.
Okay,
Sure.
so then what we'll do is, Mr. Sergey, I'm Gary, chairing the meeting. We'll let Sadie give an overview. Then we will ask if you have anything to add to the application or the information we've already read. And if you had nothing to add, if you're willing to answer questions of the committee, and then following that, we would ask you to mute yourself, and then we will have our committee conversation discussion around the business item itself. So we'll lead off with Sadie and then go to you next. So the history or the overview?
Yeah,
The floor is yours.
This is a development variance permit application for Area K. The applicant is requesting to vary just the depth of the farm residential footprint from 60 meters to 165 meters to accommodate residential development near the existing services on the property. Staff are recommending that the board approve this variance because the proposal aligns with the intent of the regulation by utilizing existing site infrastructure, clustering residential development, and preserving agricultural potential.
Okay, thanks very much. Pretty straightforward. So, Mr. Sergey, do you have anything to add, or do you want to just answer questions?
Yeah, I'm just happy to answer questions here. Well, maybe I'll just add something. So this property, we bought it about 2 years ago. It looked like it was pretty much abandoned about 9 years ago. So, you know, it was a fire hazard and everything else. So we've come in, I know most of the neighbors now, we've fire smarted the entire property. You know, we've spent a lot of resources doing that, and we're happy to clean it up and start, you know, making better use of it, you know, from a residential and agricultural perspective. Again, the existing utilities do include, you know, water. It includes an approved septic field already down at 165 meters below the front property line. And a bunch of other development that's already down there that we're also cleaning up and kind of refurbishing. So that's kind of it. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Okay, thank you. I just noted that you've even allowed for the future second residence within that footprint, which is good. You've been very forward-looking. Questions from committee members for the delegation? Just double checking chat. Did that move? No, just from Henry that delegate is online. Director Weatherhead, please go ahead.
Thank you. Nice to see your face, Paul, and welcome to the neighborhood of Lowell Road. I'm sure you'll be a great neighbor. So, thank you.
Thank you. We're happy to be there.
Any other committee members with questions? No committee online, no hands in the room. Must be fairly straightforward. So thank you. Mr. Sergey, if you were to mute, and sorry, there's one new message I see here. Is that Davidoff?
On the business
okay,
sorry, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we're now moving to the item, which is in Area K. We have the recommendation as per the approved agenda or adopted agenda to approve the DVP. I was going to open it to Director Weatherhead first, then we'll go to Director Davidoff. Go ahead, Director Weatherhead.
Thank you, through the chair to Sadie. I noticed just the ALR piece, but then I do recall that DVPs is at our discretion, not to the ALC. So I was I have to remind myself of that, and also just to members of the RAC that I do not have APC in Area K, so this would not be going to anyone but me. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to Director Davidoff and then Vandenberg. Go ahead, please, Director Davidoff. We don't have a recommendation on the floor.
Oh,
Director
sorry,
Weatherhead.
I recommend.
Okay.
Absolutely recommend.
Supplementary.
Yeah. Supplementary.
Move the recommendation. We have a second. We have a second for the recommendation. Popoff. Okay, so to Director Davidoff, then Vandenberg.
Yeah, the Director Weatherhead explained that she does not have an APHC. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I was in the same position for a while. I had no APHC. Just hard to get volunteers to step up sometimes. Director Vandenberg.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I'm on page 4 of the report, and it's the site plan. So my question, just for clarity, is I see the blue rectangle, which is obviously the property. There's a dotted line that runs north and south. Don't know what that is. And then within the building confines, I see there must be a place where the house is going to go. And I presume the other small little rectangle is the septic system. Is that correct?
Through the chair, if we look, it's sort of laid out, probably could have done a better job here, but it's sort of laid out in the paragraphs above. So the blue would be the first residence, the one they're looking to build, sort of straight away that they have the built-in permit for. The orange is the proposed future residence. Green, so septic system is in pink, electrical panel is purple, the road is yellow and the hydrant is green. And then the road is the dashed line.
Thank you.
Oh, and sorry, the white dotted line, so that was, because the application is for the depth of the farm residential footprint, I just wanted to make it really clear that that's the 165 meters, so that's the maximum depth, which accommodates a couple extra meters of wiggle room for their development.
And
Thank you.
further?
No,
Yes. We did note at agenda prep that this is using our mapping system, I guess essentially, which has wonderful measurement functions and stuff, and it would be easier if the map had kind of everything on it. I see dimensions were added 25 by 50, which that was my request back during agenda prep, and I think that's light. Or is it 25 by, 25 by 80. Okay, yeah. So it's very light print, but yeah, it's how much do you put onto one map to make sure you kind of cover everything off. It's a general representation. Shows that our mapping system is useful, but also it can be painful to work with it, I know as well, and to mention everything. Further discussion on the recommendation. Chair Watson, if you could put your hand up the third time and I will remember it's written right here. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is actually maybe a little, it's not super important, but I'm curious. So really grateful to the proponent. I know you're not in the discussion now, but I see you. Just want to say thank you for endeavoring into the world of agriculture, so necessary these days. What I'm curious about is the connection between when we have these, of course, we have one department that's dealing with the planning, looks really good, no concerns. But we have other departments that are working in things like food security and agriculture, and we have a lot of resources in those departments. Is there ever a cross-pollination of those resources to people that might be looking at expanding agriculture and where they might be able to find some support, such as boundary farm advisors, things like that? Just curious. You guys do a lot, but
yeah, through the chair. So is the question like, say if someone from the public came to us and were like, what resources are available for assistance for maybe like developing their farm, that kind of thing?
Well, sorry, through the chair, because we know that this is an agricultural land piece and we're working with them on the planning. Do we ever also add in hey, here's some resources if you are going to be expanding your property in that realm, here they are. So just curious if we add those kind of extra, just resources for them.
Yeah, through the chair, I think it totally depends on the application. Like if there's ever anything that I feel like as a planner working with an applicant that would be helpful to them, I would 100% present that. Oftentimes in cases where we see something like, say, waterfront development, even though archaeological resources are not, our real responsibility, I'm always going to provide that to folks because it's really good that they have that information ahead of time. So yeah, anytime I think there's something relevant, I'll generally pass that on.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion. Nobody else moved in chat, nobody in the room. So seeing none on the recommendation, all in favor? Any opposed? So that is carried, and then, so Mr. Sergey, this will go to the regional board tomorrow. It'll move to that agenda. We don't approve, we just recommend, and tomorrow the board will make its final recommendation, and then it goes back to staff for action. So thank you very much for coming today. We will move on in the agenda, and thanks, Sadie. We are at environmental services, no items again, so we're at rural admin. 9.1, Community Works Fund application, East Shore connectivity, fiber optic installation. This is in my area. We got a large CRTC grant, and then as I've been bringing up quite a bit lately, there's always extra costs that we are ineligible for or didn't anticipate. And we're looking at about $15,000 of project management. This was written with 10 because looked as though we needed at least 10,000. And I want to move the recommendation with $15,000 in it. So I want to move this recommendation, Community Works Fund application submitted by the RDCK for the East Shore connectivity fiber optic installation in the amount of $15,000 be approved and the funds be dispersed from Community Works Fund allocation to electoral area A.
Sure.
Well, do I look for a second or not?
Well, to the chair, I just was, we try to make these motions as specific as possible, and I'm wondering if dispersed to service S107 Area 8 economic development.
Yeah, perfect. To So Christine, do you have that?
Yeah.
Funds be dispersed to service S107A EDC. Thank you. So I move that. Second, Chair Watson. Yeah, and if you look at all my budget sheets, which I'm sure you all have done, I think I'm 13,700 or 800 in like deficit that I have to cover right out of the gate this year. Director Cunningham.
Thank you, yes, I unfortunately did not read that, but I'm curious, is this for the backbone or last mile?
This is last mile. We're building off of Columbia Basin Broadband's points of presence in Crawford Bay and Riendell. And we're using Caslo Infonet out of Caslo and Area D because they know how to do this. And so they're doing all the trenching and connections and the like. And we're probably, I hope we're 3/4 done now. AJ's not here.
Thank you, if I may, after one dinner, will it also look how to be operating it?
Yeah, they have an agreement with East Shore Internet Society. It's ESIS has people on the East Shore, and Kin, I think, has the deeper expertise. So I think that's how they're going to own and operate and collect. East Shore Internet Society are the ISP that's collecting money now for those customers.
Very good, thank you, that's what I wanted to know, just a couple of nitty-gritty details.
No, but I'm trusting that's all in order here. Dr. Popoff, and then name or no? Oh, Director Popoff.
Yeah, just a question there, the $782,000, is that for the backbone?
No, this was CRTC money. It was an unusual application. It's probably almost 4 years old when we put it in. It was outside of the Northern Development Initiative Trust and all the other provincial funds. This was a somewhat unusual application directly from CRTC, and it is to connect to houses. And these are houses that were ineligible under the other applications we made through CBBC, but interestingly, they got this money. So it is to each individual home.
Supplemental funding.
Yes.
So this is fiber to the home off the Columbia Broadband Corporation cable.
At 2 points of presence, the one at the Knock at Crawford Bay and the other one at the Bluebell Internet Society up in Riendell.
And
they have both fiber and satellite connectivity there, but they're going to use fiber.
And the $15,000 that you're recommending is just supplemental to what is being provided through the granting process for the fiber to the home?
I'm going to be blunt. We had a 1.5 year gag. I couldn't talk about this project until it was announced federally and provincially jointly. And in that time, there was changes in what plans every one of the individuals or organizations had. Everybody was in flux. So we brought in AJ, who straightened it all out, focused what we could achieve for this money. This is fundamentally to connect critical regional district infrastructure. That's the primary goal. But because these ISPs have customers all the way along between A to B, we've chosen routes where the ISP can add on the connection to the home. So I guess accurately to Director Cunningham's question, the primary purpose is to connect to our transfer stations, water systems, our facilities like the Riendell Recreation Center, Fire Hall, and then that enabled the ISP to come off of that connection to our facility to everybody en route. So we needed AJ to help sort this out, and we pay by the project for our in-house staff. That's what the money is for.
Yeah, well, thank you. And just a comment on that, the reasoning for my question is I'm looking at similar, possibly using Caslo Infonet.
Yeah, they do have the expertise. Director Vandenberg.
Yeah, I'm just sort of, I mentioned this before, and I think I'm just going to bring it up again. Certainly love to see this connectivity project go forward. The amount of work and the resources that have gone into ensuring that this project gets its funding and rolls forward is welcome for sure. But I wonder about the lost opportunity for utility from RDCK. So this is going to be turned over, as I've seen other projects turned over to ISP private providers. And I just think, I can't help but wonder that it's a lost opportunity for revenue as utility within RDCK. A lot of effort and resources have gone in from RDCK, money of sorts, taxpayer money and so on. I know in other large jurisdictions, this is a utility revenue opportunity, and just wanted to just put that on the table.
Director Popoff and I have been chatting about this as recently as lunch yesterday because we have other obligations down the road. CEO has been involved in the connectivity committee, long-term ownership, revenue generation, stuff like that. We still have some sorting out to do. So it's noted. We're getting beyond this item, but thanks for bringing it up again. It is an issue that we need to address. I think municipalities are better positioned, but we need to address this down the road. Watson and then Weatherhead.
Supplemental.
Oh, sorry, supplemental.
Yeah, thank you. Good, thank you for that. And, but let's quicken it before we lose out the future opportunities at the same time. So
I will await CEO Horn's email to us saying, do we have a long-term ownership obligation on the $82 million Henry Basin Broadband Corporation joint application across four regional districts?
Yeah.
And that might quicken it. So.
Chair, I think you missed me. Sorry, Chair.
Oh, okay. So I have, maybe I will thank Director Cunningham. So I have Watson, Weatherhead, Maine, and Davidoff. And no, nobody else can have any of this money. It's almost all spent. I'm just covering the project management costs. Watson, please go ahead.
Thank you, and I'll just, two things on process. One is we're going to veer off of your motion.
We have already.
And on the notion of creating a utility through the RDCK, just want to note a couple process things. You have to have the public to establish a service. It would be extremely expensive to do so. I just want to highlight that the only reason why KIN has been successful is because they are a nonprofit that has been heavily supported by grants. And while, yes, we could be in the same realm, that work has already been done. A lot of the capital acquisition is all through grants with CBBC. I know formally being on the CBBC board, it is not a profitable enterprise as a nonprofit. The reason why big telecoms don't come to this area and why we have nonprofits filling in the gap is because the business case is very, very poor for these. So I think that if we were to go down that road, it would require a pretty clear business case analysis, as you love, to highlight, is there even an opportunity for this to be profit driven? Because it is not profit driven for anyone who's running it as a nonprofit right now. So just a cautionary note around that.
As Chair Watson noted, we're off the
Yes.
topic, and then she helped us steer a
Stay
little
off
further
the
off.
topic.
Steer a little further off the topic.
Being an example.
Weatherhead named David off. Please go ahead, Director.
Thank you through the chair to the chair and also off topic. From your point of presence, if I may, from the point of presence,
Point of presence,
now,
the pop.
pop stations, is yours going on the power poles or underground?
It's all in ground.
All in ground.
The licensing annual fees for stringing, we examined it. It was just horrific. And we have no service to pay the ongoing costs because we are not involved in revenue collection, as Director Vandenberg pointed out, which extremely limits our ability to take the most cost-effective route. So, Director Main.
Yes, I'm continuing the off-topic topic.
So I will note, I asked our in-camera delegation to move up their availability by half an hour. So we'll carry on.
Sure, you confirm you can join whenever we're ready.
Thank you.
In response to the comment that municipalities might be better positioned to take on this work and or become ISPs, not. Oh, absolutely not. Most of the municipalities and the small municipalities simply do not have the capacity to do this. And should the regional district undertake to do it, some of the munis, not naming names, would want to join in on the RDCK initiative because it's a huge undertaking and we don't have the capacity.
Interesting. I'd hope some of the municipalities could own conduit and have future flexibility for who you allow to use it. However, we're going to go to Director Davidoff, who's been very patient. His name's been in chat for a while. Dr. Cunningham for a second time, and then we have to move to the next item. Dr. David?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And on topic,
Good.
I have received questions about why some Community Works grant applications appear to be going through. And this one's kind of really, let's say, a little complex because is there a third party beneficiary here? I would really like it on the record as to why this application is been supported by staff and is in all likelihood going to proceed when I probably have 10 or 15 Community Works applications that are now that I cannot process, and I have a lot of pressure on me because I don't have community development funds or affected area money or anything like that. Could we put it on the record as to from the CAO, please, why this particular application qualifies and a whole host of others do not? And I hope that then I can share that with my constituents who now know that I cannot provide them with Community Works funding.
Hey, so whether CEO or myself, I made a little note, we need to put it to Uli, I think. This is to provide a service to regional district facilities, and all the money has come to the regional district, and all the responsibility for achieving that objective is on the regional district. And we felt it necessary to have our staff make sure it happens the way it needs to happen. So to me, I didn't question it. Thanks for raising the point. We'll put it to Uli as later.
Yeah, and through the chair, it's a regional district project. It's again, as Director Jackman or Chair Jackman said, regional district infrastructure is being supported through this. The fact that it's grant funded is not really neither here nor there. It could be tax funded, but it's grant funded, and it's our staff performing the project management work, and it's a regional district capital project.
Okay, supplemental, Chair?
Sure, quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, the question I have is not that. The question I have is that we're speaking about a third party beneficiary, an ISP, or a third party benefiting from this ultimately. So even though it is regional district, but we, UBCM was very clear with us that we're not supposed to be supporting things that are benefiting a third party. I just want that part clarified by the CAO, please.
By me, the only thing we're covering is our in-house costs. The money is for in-house. Either I tax with a major lift in the taxation where I provide this money. We will discuss this further offline if you're struggling with the concept. I don't think we're going to solve it at the moment, but we're not giving any of this money to any third party. Third parties have opportunities beyond our objective, which is servicing us. So we will move on after Dr. Cunningham's for the second
Chair,
piece.
just point of order, I did request the CAO to respond.
I don't understand why you have a point of order. Your question is not on this recommendation specifically. I've asked you to take it offline. I don't recognize this as a point of order. I recognize this as an argument with the chair, perhaps. You can direct any question you want to the CAO on any topic you like at any time. Your question is not specific to this recommendation. It's specific to a greater process. So I'm not going to ask CEO to pursue anything to respond to a point of order. You can ask Director Cunningham to speak for the second time. Director Cunningham.
Well, thank you, Chair. I'll get to my question in a second. Okay, as I understand it, the backbone is provided through funds from the trust, who basically are doing the work, and also funds from the feds. And also in my case, and I think most of the cases, we also put in some regional district money too from our, in order to put the backbone in. Then once it gets to the top, the point of presence, after that, I understand that private companies can do it. It's up to it, or it can be done the way it is in Canada, through a co-op, or and so forth. And my question comes from, not just upon reconsideration, but this has been done, that a few months ago, we did a thing where one of the POPs was operated by the community in some way, and we allowed TELUS to move into that prop, into that distribution section. and, for the last mile. And I was thinking back and I'm not sure, looking back now from this point of view, and this is my question, this is where private industry is getting involved. The things I would tell us are the ones who won't allow us to reach, get onto their backbone. We run right past my house with them. And yet, for the last 25 years, the line's been, half of it's been unlit because they don't want to get into competition with anybody, although they are quite willing to go ahead and take out for some of our points of presence and last mile work. I think it's an interesting kind of question, and my question is this something we should be looking at more carefully? And I believe the trust does the picking of the box, so they are likely.
Yeah. We do review these issues at the connectivity committee across the 4Ds, or portions of 4Ds. We absolutely do review these issues. The points of presence were in place a few years before this project was approved. So they are prior work. CBBC put our points of presence in Crawford Bay and Riendell some time ago. And there's future enhancements proposed for those. So with looping. So that other question, again, offline, conversation with Director Popoff and I,
supplementary, just recently, the trust negotiated with the allocation of the Pop in Weimer, which is down on Fire Hall property. And they're paying us money to lease the property where the Pop is, and also giving us free access. I think we have a couple of free lines into ourselves in the community hall, which I think is really, really nice. But we are still not picked. A distributor for the last mile has still not been picked, and I understand that's where it's coming.
And we have to be opportunistic. Director Watson has signaled a few times on this recommendation.
No, I was apologizing for initiating the off-topic, off-motion conversation. I was just apologizing.
However, committee is where we do solve some of our issues, or at least formulate next steps. So maybe that's what we've been doing. So with no further discussions, any other concerns? People feel they have a point to raise with CEO, please go ahead separately. Director Davidoff, others, anybody is concerned about ownership, that is an ongoing conversation. We'll take it outside of this. So on the recommendation, with $15,000 to service S107, all in favor? Any opposed?
Okay.
Sorry. It's carried either way. Thank you very much. 9.2, Community Works Fund application, Town of Creston. Creston Ed Center. This is I'm going to call it a legacy issue. There's no staff here. We assisted the Town of Creston to afford stepping into and purchasing a School District 8 property, which was being used by School District 8 for some of their program delivery and Valley Community Services for numerous programs, predominantly for youth and their parents. And as part of our assistance, if you want to call it that, or support for the town, they knew that they have to do some capital upgrades to the building immediately, re-roofing, mechanical systems and the like. So myself and the predecessors, directors for areas B and C, made a commitment that we would fund portions of the upgrade work. At the time, the only firm quote, because Community Works Funds wants to see the dollar amounts and how do you know this is what it would cost, only came up to a portion of that commitment. Since then, the town has now organized, I guess, additional work, and they want to get the remaining $90,750 from 3 areas A, B, and C, so they can carry on with maintaining this building. So I would look for a recommendation first, if I can. You want to move the recommendation?
I would move the recommendation with perhaps some wording here we could with the areas being each contribute equally. Is that the idea, or are they going to contribute?
It is equal contributions, so we could capture that, Christine.
Okay.
We have a second. So moved with allocated equally from each of, equally to, or whatever, allocated one third each, maybe would be better, to electoral areas ABCs. Moved and seconded. Director Vandenberg. Thanks, Director Cunningham. Vandenberg.
Thank you, through the chair. Now, it's not that I'm going to bring up that this was a deal that was done by previous directors. That's not it at all. But I would bring up that we had, this was a green light some time ago. And I just want to point out that it's taking a long time to get to this point. But our CEO is not here right now to hear why why does it take so long? We agreed on this almost a year ago, and so we're seeing it now. I'm just wondering what were the challenges or the delays, but I certainly support where we're going with this.
More than 2 years ago, because you have both been elected for 2 years, we have a stake in that building. We have an MOU to share, to coordinate use of the gym for recreation purposes, community recreation. And we have access to the building through other means. So we had contemplated doing additional work ourselves as regional district to that building, and maybe even changing use and occupancy. So our planning or potential taking opportunity to use some of that building has been part of what has pushed us along. I also have to be cautious about individuals. The individual in town of Creston who's most invested in this, who I walked the building with, we had conversations with, had issues to deal with, family-related issues to deal with for a period of time. And so I had no issues with that individual not responding to questions about their next upgrades, but these things happen, and some of them are very impactful. So until the town was ready to do what they needed to do, and without any additional input from us, I just let it ride. And now they're ready.
Okay. I was unaware of that. Thank you.
Further discussion. Looking online. Don't see any. So on the recommendation, all in favor? Any opposed? Thanks very much. So my computer says in Mountain Standard Time, it's 11:01, so it's 1 minute past 10. What if we take a 10-minute break, or till 10 past? We will ask our consultant if he is ready to, I need to do public time. Yeah. Thanks, Christine. And okay, public time, and we have public online. We have Valley Voice. So at 10:02 local time, calling for questions from the public. We have no public in the room. Valley Voice or anybody else online from the public. Do you have a question for this committee? Just giving a minute for anyone to unmute if they need to. Any questions from the public? You see there's LC. Not hearing any, sort of for the third and final time, no questions from the public. So what we should do then is, actually, I'll take the recommendation right now so that we can move on with it to exclude the public from the meeting. Watson, seconded. Kearney, discussion, all in favor? And then a motion to recess and reconvene in camera. Kearney and Vandenberg, all in favor? Thank you. So we will clear the public from the meeting, and we will come back in 8 minutes for a closed session.